Hey everybody, this is the Platinum Knight here with another Double First Impressions video. And today's Double First Impressions is Alan Wake 2 and Marvel's Spider-Man 2. How ironic. These were games that both came out in October of 2023, the same time I went to Disneyland that month. This means I was only able to afford one game, so I had to make a pretty difficult decision. Either buy Alan Wake 2 or Spider-Man 2. And of course I went with Alan Wake because it's a horror game, so I wanted to keep up with the spirit of Halloween. Then I decided to get Spider-Man 2 in November. I'm gonna start with Alan Wake 2 first because it's the game that I played before Spider-Man. Back in 2021, I played Alan Wake Remastered as part of Halloween month for that year. To give my brief thoughts, I really enjoyed it. At the time, I should have guessed that the sequel was on its way. 2 years later, and things come full circle with me doing the same thing with its successor. And what are my thoughts on Alan Wake 2? It is amazing. Real emphasis on the horror aspect. The graphics are amazing, the bosses are challenging, the music is awesome and atmospheric. It takes place 13 years after the first game. Think of the PT demo that was originally supposed to tease a now cancelled Silent Hills, but if it was made into a full game. There's lots of illusions and paranormal activities that plays tricks with your head. Some areas that make you go around in circles. Sometimes when you think you saw something, it changes as soon as you get close. One of the biggest additions to this long-awaited sequel is being able to play as two different characters, which is Alan Wake and a new character, Saga Anderson, an FBI agent that is sent to investigate the strange murders of Bright Falls. You eventually have a choice of when you want to play as any one of them, making it to what order you want your story to go. The developers decided to give both characters unique abilities, changing up the gameplay. Alan Wake has the ability to change certain environments using a magic light bulb or storyboards, and Saga Anderson has the ability to use charms and has photographic memory. Although it does get to the point where it doesn't really matter what order you play the story in because you eventually gotta finish the rest of one of the campaigns after finishing another. There's only one ending plus an alternative, which we'll get more into later on. I guess the only criticism I have is some of the puzzles are just way too hard to figure out that requires a lot of big brain thinking. Even looking at your files really doesn't help you out much and is terrible at giving clues at times. I really try to figure out some of these hard puzzles on my own, but then I would just give up and look it up because I was taking too much time in my stream. It's okay if a puzzle is hard, but the problem is some of these puzzles require you to solve in order to beat the rest of the game. If you're gonna make a puzzle cryptic, at least have it be a side quest. Getting back to the positives, the controls are so much better. I also found it really impressive how quick it is to switch from your current location in-game to the mine place. Almost no loading screen, something that couldn't be done well on last-gen hardware. One thing I will say is, for a survival horror game, it's actually really creepy. Maybe not scary in my opinion, as I usually don't really feel afraid in any horror game, but it's still very haunting and psychologically effective. There are some cheap jump scares, characters, but tolerable. Oh, and for those of you who are concerned of Saga taking away Alan's steam, you don't need to worry about that. Both characters have their time to shine. While yes, Saga may have more to do, but that's only if you choose to, seeing how her campaign plays as a soft open world game, while Alan gets a more of a straight linear story. Now, if I was a fan of the Alan Wake series after playing the first game back on the Xbox 360, would I think it was worth waiting 13 years for this sequel? And I think I'm gonna have to say, yes. But it still makes you wonder, what would Alan Wake 2 would have been like if it was developed right after the previous installment? Would it have been any different? Most likely, but at least we got a follow-up, and that is better than nothing. I still wouldn't say I'm a fan of the Alan Wake series, as I do admit the story can get a little bit convoluted to follow, but I still get the idea just enough to where I don't need to replay them over and over again. One more question that I gotta ask for my viewers. Do you need to beat the first game in order to understand what's going on in this game? Thankfully, no. In fact, the game actually dedicates a whole chapter to the previous game into a musical. Yeah, I know that sounds weird, but that's psychological for you. This isn't a spoiler, but be sure to play New Game Plus in order to get the real ending of the game. Alan Wake 2 is a great game. If you're big into horror games, then I highly recommend it. Definitely a good Resident Evil alternative. Now let's see what Remedy decides to make next, whether it's Control 2, a brand new IP, or Alan Wake 3. The next game I'm gonna talk about is Marvel Spider-Man 2. I'm not gonna spend too much time talking about this game because all you need to know is it's awesome. Definitely one of the best superhero games ever made. Now, in comparison to the first game, maybe I like the story a little more in the previous installment because of how emotional it is, but Spider-Man 2 is still super epic. The gameplay is much better. I like how you now have a wingsuit so you can glide and use wind tunnels or air vents to fly. You can now switch between two Spider-Men with different abilities. Peter can use the Venom suit, and Miles can cloak and has lightning powers. There is a new crafting system, but I feel it's very basic at best. The fast travel is a lot quicker, but to be honest, I actually liked it better how you were able to see Peter in a train like in the previous game. The loading times are non-existent, the map is 2 times bigger, and you can now go to Brooklyn and Queens. The graphics are amazing, twice as many cosmetics with different color variations. Everything is just so much better in terms of gameplay. Although I do understand some people complaining about some of the facial animations, while I do admit they're not exactly the best looking, but I got used to it in time though. Another complaint I have been hearing is the story. The story isn't the most faithful compared to the comic books and has made some drastic changes. But for a video game adaptation, I was honestly okay with most of the changes. Oh, and let me tell you something. When Venom finally does come out, that scene just completely blew me away. I literally had chills all over my face. It was awesome. Like, I honestly couldn't believe it. I'm not gonna spoil it, just play it for yourself. It's moments like that is something that I never thought I'd play in a Spider-Man game. Overall, this game is truly amazing. If Baldur's Gate 3 didn't come out in 2023, I have a feeling Spider-Man 2 could have easily gotten Game of the Year. Yes, the main story is short, but that's only if you do just that. Now, I took my time with this game doing all of the side quests. I even got the Platinum Trophy, and I can confirm it is one of the best games that I've played of last year. Now I so cannot wait for Insomniac's The Wolverine game. Even though it's a shame how they got hacked, based on what I saw in the leaked footage, at least it's something to be hyped for, and I think it's gonna be great. Alright everybody, that's it for this double first impressions video. That's it for my first impressions on Alan Wake 2 and Marvel's Spider-Man 2. If you enjoyed this video, then please make sure to give me a thumbs up and subscribe. Hit that notification bell for new videos, and peace out everybody.